Hi, I'm Anissa, and I'm doing my TED Talk on the yellow wallpaper and the importance of understanding mental health. So, starting off, I want to give a brief background of the yellow wallpaper by Charlotte Perkins Gilman itself to kind of give an idea of what makes it relevant to displaying mental illness. Okay, so the yellow wallpaper by Charlotte Perkins Gilman follows the narrator as she battles with what is labeled as a nervous depression. Her husband John takes her to a rest home, thinking that rest is what will help her with her disorder. We find out that the narrator keeps a journal hidden from her husband because she feels that she's unable to express herself to her husband that really just doesn't understand her disorder, but in her journal, she feels that she's able to express herself. The narrator talks about how her husband belittles her illness and her thoughts too, and he ends up actually going against pretty much all her wishes and takes her to this rest home that makes her actually get a lot worse. She doesn't agree that the rest home or rest is the best cure for her. She wants to work and she doesn't want to be confined to this home. In the room she's in, she becomes obsessed with the yellow wallpaper and she actually begins to see women trapped in the wallpaper. And later she believes that the woman trapped in the wallpaper is actually her. She freaks out and everything goes downhill from there. In the end, we see that the narrator's mental health has completely deteriorated, and her husband John is shocked to see that she has actually begun tearing the wallpaper, and that's when he realizes how bad her condition really was. And I think that was kind of a wake up call for him, realizing, wow, it was so much worse than he was making it out to be. Next, I want to really talk about the importance of what makes the yellow wallpaper so relevant to mental illness today and kind of why it'll always remain relevant. And also, really importantly, how the narrator feels misunderstood. So, the importance. The narrator complains that she feels misunderstood and unheard, so much so that we see her start writing in a secret journal that really she just keeps between herself. When you feel that someone is belittling your disorder, it can become so much harder to get the help you need, to open up to someone that doesn't understand you. That can be extremely frustrating, and she feels belittled so much so that she can't even talk to her husband because he won't listen to her, he won't understand, and he'll just go against her wishes. The narrator's husband ignores what she thinks is best for her own treatment. I think this is really important because it just goes to show that it's so important to listen to the one struggling and to do what they think is best for themselves instead of just labeling um, someone struggling, because they're still capable of, they still know what's going on, and most of the time they know what's best for themselves. But the husband just goes against everything she says and kind of just thinks that she's not capable of taking care of herself, so much so that she can really only rest. If her husband had listened to her instead of belittling her, she could have gotten the help she needed. And that's a really important realization to make, because that just goes to show that everything that happened in the yellow wallpaper was completely avoidable. Misunderstanding and belittling mental illness is really relevant, and I think that this aspect of the yellow wallpaper will always be relevant, and it's something that is very alive and well. It's something that still remains an issue, and it's a common error to make, but it's also important to know that many people don't belittle mental illnesses on purpose. It actually mostly just comes from a lack of understanding and listening. And once again, the narrator felt the need to keep a secret journal because she felt that no one would really listen to her or even do what she thinks is best. She receives the wrong treatment as a result and gets worse, all because her husband didn't understand what she was going through. And honestly, even if her husband did understand how bad it was, he would probably still go against her wishes because he just didn't really think she was capable of anything other than rest. Finally, I'm going to be making an important connection. That is how everything could have been completely avoided. We didn't have to see her completely spiral out of control because everything that happened could have been avoided if her husband knew what she was going through and took the time to listen to her. So, how everything could have been completely avoided. The narrator would have received the proper help if her husband listened to and understood her. Instead, we see her disorder get worse. Instead, it could have gotten a lot better. It turns out that the narrator actually knew what was best for her. She knew that she wanted to work, and being active would help her get better, but her husband just kept insisting on rest. John clearly didn't know what was best for her. He goes against her wishes, and this kind of highlights why it's always best to listen to the one struggling before deciding what course of action to take. Mental illness can be complicated, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't take the time to listen and try to understand. Thank you for watching.